Let's talk about solving equations a little bit more difficult than we were doing before. We're going to just up it a little bit. We're going to have like terms, and we're going to use parentheses here. I'm going to make it a little more complicated, but you guys will be totally fine. So let's take a look. We're going to have a couple options when you have something with parentheses like this. So I'm going to kind of walk you through two different things here. The first option is we can always go ahead and we can use the distributive property. Okay, and this one involves sort of looking at it and saying, okay, well, first let's see what's happening here. I have 5 and I'm multiplying everything inside of here. I have 5 of them, right? So I'm going to have to multiply everything in here. And then I'll end up with 35. Now another thing, and this is what I would like you to do, is if we know x, we're going to take a look at x, right? And if we knew this, first we'd take it, we'd multiply it by 3. Then we'd subtract 8. Then whatever answer we get on the inside of here, we're going to multiply it by 5 in order to get to 35. Okay? So if we knew what this was, right, inside of here, okay, so the first thing we would do is we would first multiply by 3. Then we would subtract 8. Okay? Or let's do this. So we'll say then we'd add a negative 8. Okay? Then we would multiply by 5. Okay, and then after we do this, we're going to end up with 35. Okay, so let's try this first. Okay, so the first thing I would do here is then, if I'm going to undo this, is the first thing I would do is if I'm going to start here, I'm going to go back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 5. Okay, and I'm going to rewrite it. So I have 5 times 3x minus 8 is equal to 35. Okay, and basically what I'm saying is there are 5 of these groups, 5 of these things, right? Okay. So if I have 5 of these groups and I have a total of 35, if I divide by 5, I can figure out how much this one thing is, right? Instead of having 5 of them equal 35, I could say 5 of these, right, or one of these is worth, well, if we divide by 5, it's going to be 7. Now, here's the tricky part. When you do this, okay, the golden rule of equations still applies. What you do to one side, you must do to the other side as well. It means you have to do it to the entire side. Okay, so really what we're doing is this is 5 times this thing. Okay, so if I divide this by 5 and I divide this by 5, okay, that's going to leave me with one of these. So then I'm going to be left with 3x minus 8 is equal to 7. Okay. Now this way works because I have a nice whole number here, okay? And you'll see later on another one, when you do this, if it doesn't equal a whole number, scrap it and move on with a different way, okay? So we did this part, we undid this, right? We divided by 5, okay? And then we're going to do the next part, okay? Well, first we added a negative 8, right? That's what's happening here. In fact, I can say this is plus negative 8. So in order to do the opposite, I'm going to I'm going to add the opposite. I'm going to add a positive 8. Okay, and that means I'm going to add positive 8 over here. I'm going to combine these steps, right? Well, if this is 3x, right, 3 times a number, and then I go down 8 is equal to 7. Well, let's go back up 8. That means 3x is going to have to be equal to 15. And then from here, okay, we eliminated this step. We added 8. Okay, and then we're going to go here. Instead of multiplying by 3, we're going to go ahead and divide by 3. On both sides, okay, 3 divided by, it says 3 times a number, right? So whatever this is, if I have 3 of them, I end up with 15. So I'm going to break it into 3 groups, and I get 5 inside of each group. Okay, and let's go back and check our answer inside the original one. So we would do 5 times 3 times 5 minus 8. Does that equal 35? Okay, so it's 5 times 15 minus 8 is equal to 35. 5 times 7. Does that equal 35? Yes, it does, so it works. All right. Now, let's take a look at this another way. And let's go ahead and look at it as, okay, if I am doing this, okay, let's say instead of reversing the order of operations there, let's go ahead and let's use the distributive property first. And kind of look at it as this is like a simplifying it first. Okay, so oops, let me rewrite it. 3x minus 8 equals 35. Okay, and then I'm going to change this to, oops, I forgot my parentheses. I'm going to make this plus a negative 8. Now I'm going to go ahead and distribute. So I'm going to do 5 times 3x. Okay, so it's 5 times 3x plus 5 times negative 8 is equal to 35. So let's do this. 5 times 3x is 15x plus a negative 40 is equal to 35. All right, so next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add 40. Add 40 here, add 40 here. Okay? Because once I get to this step here, right? You know you have a number. You're multiplying by 15 and then you go down 40 and that gets you to 35. So in order to reverse it, I'm going to go up 40 and that's going to tell me that 15x is equal to 75. Okay? Now if I have 15 groups of this number, and it gives me a total of 75, well then I can break it into groups of 15. And that will tell me that x is equal to 5, which is the same answer we got on the previous slide. Okay, so 2 different ways. You have 2 different options. The first one I think might be a little bit simpler, but it does require you, well, it could get trickier, and you'll see what will happen here on another problem. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Take a look right here. Let's go ahead and do the practice the distributive property, and then I'll show you the other way you can do it. So let's first rewrite it. 6 minus x is equal to negative 18. I'm going to change this, instead of saying subtracting x, I'm going to make this adding negative x. Okay, then we'll do the distributive property. Multiply each side here. We'll get 2 times 6 is negative 12. Negative 2 times negative x is going to be a positive 2x is equal to negative 18. Okay, and then some of you would like to write it so that the x comes first, and so we can do 2x plus negative 12 is equal to negative 18. So this has a number, we multiply by 2, and then we go down 12. So let's go up 12. That's our additive inverse. Okay, and we'll add those together, and I'm going to end up with 2x, and those cancel, right? Because this is down 12 and then up 12 gets me back to 0. Then I've got negative 18 and positive 12. That's going to give me negative 6. So now let's divide by 2. Divide by 2, and I'm left with x is equal to negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. And there you have it. Okay, let's go ahead and let's check it out. We got negative 2 times 6 minus negative 3 is equal to negative 18. Negative 2, well, I got 6 subtract negative 3. So I'm going to take away going down. That's going to give me up. So 6 plus 3 is 9 is equal to negative 18. Negative times positive, negative. 2 times 9, 18. Does that equal negative 18? Yes, it does. Okay, well, let's go ahead and I'm going to quickly show you how we can do it the other way. All right, so we'll do negative 2 times 6 minus x is equal to negative 18. Okay, now normally what we do is we could say plus and negative. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would make it the opposite. Then I'm going to go up 6. Then whatever result that is, then I'm going to multiply by negative 2 to get here. So then what I want to do first is divide by negative 2. So that's going to leave me, right? Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. That gives me 6 plus negative x is equal to 18. Negative divided by negative is positive. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So then I want to say, okay, well, this is adding 6. So we'll go down 6. Okay, it's adding a negative 6. And we'll add a negative 6 here. So negative 6, that's a negative right there. Negative 6, here, let's just, so you can see it. Negative 6 and positive 6 makes 0, so that leaves me with a negative x is equal to 9, and negative 6 is 3. Okay, well, this says what the opposite of x is 3. Well, what's the opposite? So that means x is equal to the opposite of this, which is negative 3, which is what I ended up with here. So, same answer. Okay, 2 different ways to get there. Let's take a look at another one. Okay, now this one we're going to have to use the distributive property, because if you look right away, okay, normally you'd say, all right, first I multiply by negative 8, then I'm going to go up 6, and then I multiply by negative 4. That gets me to 35. Well, if I take 35 and I divide it by negative 4, hopefully alarms and bells. You're going to end up with a decimal or actually you're going to end up with like a fraction right here, and let's just not deal with that right now. So we can get the fraction at the end if we use the distributive property. So let's rewrite. Whoops. Negative 4 times 6 minus 8x is equal to 35. So then let's go ahead and we'll make the plus a negative 8. Okay, and then what we can do here is we could do negative 4 times 6, negative 4 times negative 8x. Negative 4 times 6 is negative 24, plus negative 4 times negative 8 is positive 32. X is equal to 35. Okay, sometimes you guys like to rewrite it. In fact, let's not do that this time. But if you need to rewrite it, you could write it as 32x plus a negative 24. But hopefully you guys are trying to get used to it. Say, okay, what would I do first here? First, I'd multiply by 32. Then I would go down 24. So the first thing I need to do is go up 24 and up 24 here, right, on either side of the equal sign. Those cancel out. I'm left with 32. X is equal to, what is that, 959. Now I take this and I'm going to divide by 32. Divide by 32. And I get X is equal to 59 over 32. And I can just leave it like that. I don't need to go crazy. I don't need to turn it into a decimal. Don't need to worry about it. It's a fraction. And it's simplified. 59. Well, let's see. The only number that goes into 32 is any form of 2, like 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. And this one is not even, so that would be your answer. Let's check it. Negative 4 times 6 minus 8 times 59 over 32. And then end those parentheses. Does this equal 35? All right, well, we got negative 4 times 6 minus, okay, well, 8 divided by, let's see, 8 divided by 32. Okay, so this is going to cancel. That's going to be 1. That's going to be 4. So I'm going to get 6 minus 59 over 4 is equal to 35. Okay, so then we'll do negative 4 times 6. Now what we could do, this is an interesting one. We could either change this, and let's do that. We'll do that first. We'll say this is 24 over 4 minus 59 over 4. Does that equal 35? Okay, so that's what we're going to do here, right? I changed it to fourths. Instead of 6, I made it into quarters. So that's 24 quarters minus 59 quarters. That's going to give me, right, well, negative 59. Okay, this is plus negative 59, and 24 is actually negative 35 over 4. Okay, so this, if I do take this and multiply it here, then divide by 4, the 4's will cancel out, the negatives cancel out, and I'm actually left with 35. Okay, that's one way to check it. The other one is we could have done the distributive property. You could have done 4 times this. Okay, so let's do that. Let me erase this real quick, and you'll see we'll end up with the same answer here. So 4 times 6 is negative 24 minus, and then 4 times here, right? So this is plus a negative, right? So negative times negative is going to be positive. And then you're going to say 4 divided by 4 is 1. Okay, so then you're going to get 59 equals 35. Well, 15 up 59, down 24, 35 equals 35. All right, looking good. Let's try one more here. Okay, this one's a little trickier. Again, now we're sorry, this is not the same. This one is a little bit more complex. Now, if you look at this one, when you see more than one x, you actually can't do your reverse order of operations because you need to combine your x's first. We have to simplify it. So we're going to look at these and say, okay, is it simplified? Can I do something to it to make it simpler? Well, yeah, we can put this 6x and this 3x, we got to get them combined somehow. But this is inside parentheses, so we need to break this out of the parentheses, which means we need to use the distributive property. So let's rewrite. Okay, notice I reread it first. Now we'll change all of our subtraction. Instead of subtracting a positive, what it means take away going up, let's make it look like this. And then 3x, instead of subtracting 9, we'll say add negative. Now we can use our distributive property. Negative 3 times 3, negative 3 times negative 9. So we get 6x, okay, plus negative 3 times 3x, that's going to be negative 9x. Negative 3 times negative 9 is going to be positive 27 is equal to 33. All right, now we can combine these two. Okay, so I have positive 6 and negative 9. That gives negative 3x plus 27 is equal to 33. Now it's simplified. Now what I can say is, okay, first I would multiply by negative 3, then I go up 27. That gets me to 33. So the first thing I'm going to do is go down 27. And then down 27 over here. And I'm going to get negative 3x is equal to, those cancel out, right? Up 27, down 27 gets me back to where I started. 33 and down 27 is going to give me 6. So divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3, and I get x is equal to negative 2. Let's check it. 6 times negative 2 minus 3 times negative 2 minus 9. And I ran out of room, so I'm not going to put this is going to have to be equal to, 33 there, okay? So let's do the parentheses first. So 3 times negative 2, so we'll do 6 times negative 2 minus 3 times 6 times negative 2 is negative 6 minus 9. Okay, and I can change this to adding a negative. So we'll do 6 times negative 2 minus 3 times, well, negative 6 and negative 9 is negative 15. Okay, now we'll go ahead and we'll change this to adding a negative. And now I can go ahead and multiply. Right? I've got multiplication here, I've got multiplication here. So let's do that. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. Plus negative 3 and negative 15 is positive 45. Okay, this is down 12 and up 45. So if I started here and I go down 12, I'm going to end up at 33. Okay, so it checks out. I shouldn't have circled that actually. So let's take away the circle, but it checks out. Okay, because it equals the same. Okay, you try these. Go ahead, pause the video, and then I want you to go ahead and try them out. I'm not going to walk you through it. I'm just going to show the work here, and then hopefully you will, if you have any questions, bring them to class. Okay, go. So here are the solutions. Go ahead, you can pause the video and kind of look it over, and any of the questions you could, maybe if you didn't get it right, you copy it down and then bring your questions to class. If there's a specific spot that you don't understand, circle it and say, Mr. Clark, I didn't understand how you got this. And we can talk about it from there, okay? And then we can do some more practice in class, and I'm hoping you guys have a better understanding of it. So we'll see you tomorrow.